This series was funded by great viewers just like you over on Patreon. Check out the description or end of the video to hear how you can take part in making the show even more amazing. This episode is also brought to you by Nord VPN. Head on over to nordvpn.com/gaijin to get 75% off a 3-year plan of protection. Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here, and welcome back to another episode of Which Ninja? A series that looks at media's most popular shinobi to see which are good and which are bad.
And today we're looking into a long-requested character that... Oh, you guys really wanted to hear about Spider-Man, didn't you?
Well, why wouldn't they? Spider-Man's been on a roll as of late. We had a massive revitalization of Spider-Man in Homecoming in summer 2017. Then about a year later, we had Marvel's Spider-Man for PS4, which completely reset the bar on open-world superhero games. Not to mention, it got audiences hyped for Miles Morales, who only 3 months later would star in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which redefined animated action and comic book movies.
And now freaking Spider-Man Far From Home is slated to come out in July.
That's what I mean. And with all this hype, there's been dozens of people pouring in asking to break down Spider-Man on this show.
Yeah, but come on, Spider-Man? A ninja? We're supposed to believe that a born and bred New Yorker kid in bright blue and red spandex is on the same level as one of the most esoteric espionage organizations the world's ever seen?
Look, I get there's a lot of doubters when it comes to the question of, is the fast-talking, brightly dressed Spider-Man an authentic ninja? But let me say this without a hint of sarcasm. Spider-Man is the greatest accidental ninja I have ever seen in the nearly 2 years of doing this show. Everything from his core abilities to his style of crime fighting to even the extensive multiverse versions of the guy, Spider-Man through and through is one of the greatest ninjas in comics. Like, take Spider-Man's basic traits for example, the constant abilities we've seen Peter Parker pack in nearly every iteration of himself: wall climbing, web shooting, and spider sense. Despite their roots in science fiction and fantasy, at their core, they're completely ninja. Let's start with the most practical, the wall climbing. Peter, having been bit by that radioactive spider, grew microscopic hairs on his hands and feet. Now, these bristles are so small and numerous that they can easily find tiny cracks in surfaces and essentially dig into them, allowing some insects and arachnids the ability to stick to walls. Well, believe it or not, ninja were thought to be able to 4-point climb surfaces in the exact same way. Ninja had special tools called shuko and ashiko, loosely meaning steel hands and feet, but in actuality were spike strips of metal that would wrap around the palms of the ninja's hands and the bottom of their feet, allowing them extra grip as the cleated spikes would either puncture the surface the ninja was climbing on, like wood or soil, or naturally hooking into any crevices or cracks of man-made walls. Exactly how Spider-Man is able to hook his arachnid micro-bristles into surfaces to keep him suspended.
Then how about Spider-Man's webbing? It wasn't exactly commonplace to see ninja thwipping around on steel-strong silk, man-made or otherwise.
True, but while Ninja didn't brachiate on spider silk, they did have the spiritual predecessor to Spidey's web shooters, the Kaginawa grappling hook. While ninjas couldn't blast them out of their wrists, these specialized grappling hooks were just as indispensable to Ninja as Spider-Man was to his web fluid. In fact, the Kaginawa was known as one of the Shinobi no Rokugu, or 6 essential tools of the ninja. These were the things that no shinobi would ever be without on their person. As one might expect, ninjas would predominantly use these small-scale grappling hooks to hoist themselves up any surface, but Kaginawa had a duality to their nature. While they predominantly were to aid a ninja's ascent, they were also used as tools of capturing and binding, a Kaginawa no Jutsu if you will. Just like Spider-Man's webbing, the Kaginawa was used not only for climbing, but for entangling as well.
Okay, fair, but what about Pete's spider sense? It's not like Ninja had a sixth sense about incoming danger. Oh, that's right. The Saki test.
Yep. I want to preface this point that I am well aware that there are people that are calling this practice fake, but the Saki, or Ominous Intentions test, is still widely practiced in Bujinkan ninjutsu. Whatever you want to believe is up to you, but it's still a historical aspect of ninjutsu and is definitely worth comparison to Spider-Man. So this is how the test goes down. The student attempting to graduate to Godan 5th degree black belt sits on their legs with their back facing their instructor, who wields a non-lethal weapon like a bokken or a shinai. At random, the teacher will bring the weapon down on the head of their student, whose objective is to sense the oncoming danger and roll out of the way to strike, tempering the student to understand and feel out their surroundings for danger without relying on their sight. While we've danced around comparisons when it comes to Spidey's wall crawling and web shooting simply being relatable to what shinobi of yore were capable of, this is a living, breathing, one-to-one example that completely parallels Spidey with traditional ninja.
You know, there's actually a lot more one-to-one connections than that if you consider Spider-Man's tactics. Whenever we see him in comics, games, or movies, Spider-Man is 90% of the time high above on something. Either a wall, a support beam, regardless, Spider-Man always comes at his enemies and obstacles from above, which in turn parallels really hard to the Tanuki Gakure no Jutsu. Named after the Tanuki's propensity to climb and hang out in trees, the Tanuki Gakure no Jutsu is a simple hiding technique that plays on human perception. As we've mentioned in previous videos, people have a tendency to only focus at a 45-degree angle of vision while unalerted, and ninja take advantage of that human regularity with gusto, perching high on trees, roofs, and even corners of rooms to stay out of sight.
But in any case, if you still don't think that Spider-Man is the most authentic accidental superhero ninja in comic book history, let's break out some of his featured gadgets and inventions that he's created over the years.
Such as?
How about Spider-Man's Steel Spider armor? Yeah, long before Stark's gift-wrapped suit, in another universe known as Spider-Man issue 100, Pete decided that he needed a bit more protection against the rising threat that followed the fall of the Kingpin, the new Enforcers, so he created specialized armor. But what was unique about this armor, though, is that while it was considered steel plating, the plates were small enough that they could easily move and bend at their seams, allowing Spider-Man to retain at least some of his flexibility. And I kid you not, there is legit ninja armor of these exact same properties.
Well, maybe not steel, but they were a special type of karuta tatami armor known as shinobi katsu. Comprised of arm guards, leg guards, a chest piece, and a helmet, shinobi katsu were made of small pieces of metal, likely iron, that were held together by a network of small chains. Though it was weighty, it did provide extra protection for a ninja who was snooping around in enemy territory. Plus, just like Spider-Man, the fact that the individual plates were small allowed for them to be far more flexible than Samurai Do armor. Finally, the armor could actually be folded up and condensed for easy carrying due to how flexible the plates were.
And how about the hologram combat ability you get in PS4 Spider-Man after unlocking the Scarlet Spider costume? Once activated, the suit ejects holograms of Spider-Man to taunt and distract multiple enemies. And that is a classic, I'll bet science fiction example of the Bushin no Jutsu. A type of genjutsu or mind game technique ninja would use by either creating strawmen of themselves wearing their garb and positioning them in key places, or having multiple ninjas wearing the exact same outfit in order to confuse guards trying to relay the ninja's position. Fact or fiction, it is a ninja trait.
Man, and when you think about it too, all of his other gadgets, the spider bots, the spider tracer, the big time suit, even Spider-Man's trusty remote camera, all these tools aren't for combat like so many other superheroes, but rather for intel gathering. Huh. It really is a pretty solid theory that Spider-Man is a ninja.
Oh, dude, at this point, it's pretty much fact.
What?
I admit, this particular Spider-Verse isn't the most popular, but it is an official universe within Marvel's collection of Spider-Verses. Heck, it was even showcased in the PS4 game. The Spider-Man mangaverse, love it or hate it, literally confirms the assumptions I made about the connection between Spider-Man's core abilities and historical shinobi tools and practices. Pick almost any panel with Peter in costume and you can immediately see it. He's not swinging on spider silk, natural or man-made, he's swinging on small-scale grappling hooks, Kaginawa. He's not wall climbing with microscopic hairs on his hands and feet, he's blatantly equipped with shuko on both hands. Finally, even when it comes to Peter's spider sense, there are multiple panels devoted to him being constantly smacked with a stick while blindfolded as Ben Sensei explains to him the exact same concepts that are taught for the Saki test. It's all there!
So wait, does this mean that the Spider-Man we know and love is actually inspired by ninja and this is confirmation? Or was this 2002 alternate universe Spider-Man's ninja theme built around the original Spider-Man's concepts that just so happen to be pretty ninja?
Well, it's hard to tell. On one hand, Spider-Man was conceived 5 years before James Bond You Only Live Twice released in the States, arguably the single catalyst for the ninja boom in the US during the 70s and 80s. But at the same time, there's such a massive parallel between the tools and tactics that Spider-Man uses and what we know historically about ninja. But accident or not, there's not a doubt in my mind that Spider-Man is the closest thing the Marvel Universe has ever created in terms of a superhero ninja. So I'm giving him a well-earned 9 out of 10 stars. With the fact that Peter wasn't traditionally trained being the one thing holding him back from a 10. And even that is debatable in the mangaverse.
Well, I'm gonna go with a solid 7 out of 10 stars. I admit that there are a lot of similarities going on here between Spider-Man and what we know as ninja, but I still can't help but think this was a giant coincidence.
You know, with all this talk about superheroes, it's strange we don't have a cyber-based one. I get that hero comics are oftentimes equating to our own personal power fantasies, but with the net being such a centerpiece of our everyday life, I'm kinda surprised there isn't, well, another kind of web-based hero. Cause we honestly could use one. Phishing, ID theft, and PC zombification are so rampant these days, I feel like it's a game of Russian roulette just to connect to the airport Wi-Fi. But with today's sponsor, NordVPN, we're not so helpless to net crime. So what the heck is a VPN? Long story short, virtual private networks are basically like firewalls for data that moves through the internet. First, a VPN will encrypt any information going to or from your machine, then the data moves to the VPN, and then from there, using the VPN's IP address and location, will reach its online destination. This keeps your personal location and IP safe.
In a goofy sort of way, they're kinda like your own personal net ninjas, intercepting potentially harmful information and stealthily moving your connection to its destination away from the prying eyes of hackers.
But why use NordVPN specifically? Well, I've had a good experience with it. Yeah, of course I use it, I work online. It's comforting to have that extra level of protection, and it's literally easy as boom, boom, done. It's a set it and forget it kind of comfort. Other reasons? Well, aside from the fact that they're offering a 3-year plan for $3 a month, they've got a lot of unique features. For example, you can hook up 6 separate devices in one account, which should cover just about everything you have. But they also have unlimited bandwidth, 24/7 customer support, and no data logging. So if you'd like to have that extra layer of security, head on over to nordvpn.com/Gaijin and get a 75% discount on a 3-year plan. And you can also use the code Gaijin to get a month free. But either way, guys, thank you for watching, and a huge thank you to the patrons and supporters that keep Witch Ninja alive. You guys are the reason I can still keep making the show. And if you're still curious about which ones are good and which ones are bad, be sure to check out the rest of the Witch Ninja series. We've got over 24 episodes you can dig into. But until next time, everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.